Tiger fans, wow. Wow, wow, wow. The moment has come. The thing that I've been getting comments on my videos for the last 7 months. The Tigers have announced that they have fired Avila effective immediately. They're actually meeting with the media right now to introduce Sam Menzin as the day-to-day operations guy for the Tigers, basically for the rest of the season. Chris Ilitch said that, he's committed to seeing the Tigers have winning baseball teams. He knows that the fans of Detroit are definitely fed up. And I know this firsthand because almost every comment I get on my video, or you go on Reddit or you go on Facebook, everyone always says the same thing. Fire Avila. Now, me, I was a long-time Avila supporter. I had made a lot of videos on here about supporting Avila and the rebuild, and I thought he was doing a good job until the previous this past trade deadline, when Avila got what he got for Michael Fulmer, didn't make any kind of moves to bring in any kind of offense to help this team. I was done. It had been since 2016 that this guy took over. 16 they tried to win, and after it failed, it was just all downhill because they completely ripped out the studs to the ground, and he tried to rebuild the team. And I'm going to say something positive about Avila here. So all you people that hate Avila and are going to probably dislike this video because I said something positive about him, even though I'm happy he's gone, he did do a good job at drafting players within the system. I'm going to make a video later this week about that article about the 25th ranking. But you look at some of the guys, almost every single first-round pick he has had has made it to the big leagues and has contributed to some capacity, or will contribute as they grow, further in, because guys like Torkelson and Green, they're still very young and they have not even come close to reaching their potential. They're rookies. And then, I still believe in Casey Mize and, guys like Skubal and Manning, and there's other guys down there like Pacheco and Dingler and Peyton Graham and Jace Jung, Jackson Jobe. So that Avila did do a good job at drafting, regardless of your opinion on him. I don't care if you don't think he did. The fact of the matter is, he was good at drafting. Issue is, he was not good at signing free agents. Issue is, he was not good at trading people. Issues is, the players that he did acquire, or the players that are on the team, they're not major league players. A real GM would have got rid of Jonathan Scope a long time ago. A real GM would not have let Robbie Grossman hog a roster spot like he did for as long as he did. A real GM would not let Willie Castro, Victor Reyes, Zach Short, Daz Cameron, Derek Hill. Need I go on? A real GM would have not let these players soak up 40-man roster spots, waste the team's time, waste the Tigers' time, waste your and my time, and have consistent crap after crap after crap after crap. He assembled this team that's going to probably lose damn near 100 games, that is one of the worst offensive Tigers teams of all time, one of the worst offensive teams of all time. This is on Avila. This is why he had to go. And when he made that comment about moving the franchise needle, and when it came to listening to offers on other players, it was done. It was time. He needed to go. I don't care if he was good at drafting. I don't care what players are here on the core. He wasn't utilized. He didn't know how to utilize any of his players that he drafted. Anyone that he's brought up so far this year has been worse since they've been up to the big leagues. Now, mind you, the learning curve and everything else, but the way they've developed, he can't get them to the next step. He can't get them to even start reaching some of their potential. This is on Avila. This team being this bad again, this is on Avila. They won 77 games last year just to lose 100 now this year. He had to go. It was 100% necessary. They need someone in there that is going to make trades that are effective. Now, you're not going to win on every single trade. It just is what it is. Dave Dombrowski didn't win on every single trade. He set the Tigers back quite a bit, where he traded Eugenio Suarez for Alfredo Simon. That was one of his worst trades, when he traded Doug Fister and then ended up flipping Robbie Ray after trading Doug Fister. That was a horrible trade. But he was still good. He was able to get Doug Fister for Luke French and a couple other guys, Casper Wells. He was able to go in and trade guys like Jacob Turner and Brian Flynn and turn it into Anibal Sanchez and Omar Infante. They need a GM that can be a GM, not just be one thing, which is the ability to scout and draft. And then once you draft the good players, you need to be able to develop them. And he didn't do any of this. He had to go. He needed to go. He had to go. And I'm honestly surprised that Chris Ilitch did it during the season and not wait until the end of the year, because at this point, they're playing for nothing. The draft already happened, and they're playing for nothing. So I'm really surprised that he got let go today and that he's no longer the GM right now. I figured they would wait till the end of the season. And it's kind of weird. This is the second time in my YouTube career that I've had to make this video, because you could go back and see my video when Avila took over for Dave Dombrowski in 2015. And in that video, I said, if the Tigers win with this core of players, they got to thank Dave Dombrowski for putting these guys in place. And I don't know how much you can thank Avila if they do win with some of these group of guys that they have. Because if they win with a good chunk of Avila players, great. But I think you got to look upon it back it as a failure, because if somebody else comes in and is able to win with this crop of players that he drafted and win with this close to the same core of team that he thought he was going to be able to win with, it just goes to show you how incompetent that he was, that he couldn't do it, that he couldn't make this team take the next step. He had one single winning season as a general manager, and then they ripped it down. He had to go. It was time to go. So moving forward, I have no idea who's going to be the Tigers GM. I have no idea who some of the candidates are. And if anyone comes out here and says it's going to be Theo Epstein, it's not going to be Theo Epstein. Theo Epstein has a cushy job with the MLB. He's not going anywhere. He's not leaving the MLB. He's not going to be the GM of the Tigers. At this point in time, I don't think that the Tigers can do another in-house guy. They tried it with Avila because Avila was Dave Dombrowski's right-hand man since the beginning when Dombrowski came on to the Tigers. I don't know if you can go ahead and give someone else within the organization another shot. At this point in time, it didn't work out. You tried an in-house guy. You tried someone familiar with the Ilitches and how the Tigers operated, and you gave him 7 years to experience one winning season. At this point, I think they need to look for outside help. They need to look for someone with a fresh perspective from a different organization. I mean, you look at Cleveland, Franmil Reyes was a really good player, and they just dumped him. They DFA'd him. And I think they need someone of the same kind of caliber that is not going to put up with mediocre performances, that's not going to put up with your team being assembled with a bunch of 4A players, a bunch of fourth outfielders and utility infield guys, and you try to get better and you sign a couple people and they blow up in your face. Javier Baez is going to have his worst career season of all time, and Eduardo Rodriguez spent more time on the restricted list than he did pitching for the Tigers. So they need someone that's going to go out there, be a fresh voice, a fresh perspective, and I think they need an outhouse option. They can't promote in-house again. So I'm very curious to see what this next person does, because are they going to bring in a GM, and is he going to want to tear it down a little bit and try to flip some of this prospect capital, or are they going to try to tear it down a little bit and be bad for another season, maybe 2 seasons, a couple more losing years to try to take maybe a couple more steps forward? Or is it going to be, Ilitch is going to light the fire right away because he's seen, Tiger fans are very pissed about the last 7 years. Is it going to be a right away kind of thing where Ilitch wants them to be a competitive team, a playoff team right away, and he opens up his checkbook again, and this guy goes out and signs a couple of guys, maybe a Trey Turner, I don't know, and flip some of the prospects that they have down in the minor leagues for proven bats or make some bigger trades. It could be like a Dave Dombrowski kind of thing when Dombrowski became the general manager of the Red Sox, when they traded Michael Kopech and Yohan Moncada, and they got Chris Sale right away. I don't know. I really hope, and I don't understand why they would want to take a step back, because there is talent here. And I think if someone who's competent enough and has, better developmental skills, they could unlock some of these players because there is talent in place. What they need is some guy who knows how to make trades, knows how to sign free agents that aren't dog shit, that they can go in and use as complementary pieces to the good players that they do have. The Casey Mize, the Scoobles, the Mannings, the Greens, the Torkelsons. Obviously today, Kerry Carpenter is making his Major League debut, so the book is still out on him. We don't know who he could be, but he could be here for the next 5 years. I don't know. Dylan Dingler could be the next guy, or Pacheco could be the next guy, or Campos. We don't know yet. It's not set in stone. My point is I really hope this next guy doesn't come in and try to rip it down, and then we got to deal with 3 more years of losing seasons because he doesn't want anything that was associated with Avila to be here. But I think if Illich went and fired Avila, I don't see why they would want to take a step back. I think, honestly, at this point, the next guy they bring in is going to be someone that's going to put their foot down on the gas pedal right away to try to make this team better, to try to do a 180 versus take a step back to take more steps forward. So, but also on that same card, I really hope that this next person comes in and doesn't completely gut the farm to bear anything, because doing that with the talent that the Tigers do have could net you some players that are good fast. But at the same time, Dombrowski did that from 11 to 14. And it was great. We had 4 years of competitive baseball. Really, you look from 06 to 14, there was only a couple of dud years in there. 07 they were good but didn't make the playoffs. 08 was one of the worst seasons I've ever watched. And then 09, they were a good team and lost to the Twins on the last day of the season. 2010, they were a 500 team. But Dombrowski was making trades in those couple of years, like 09 and 10. And this is something that Avila didn't do, like when he got Austin Jackson and Max Scherzer and Phil Koch and Daniel Schlereth. And then in that 2010 season, he traded for Johnny Peralta. In a losing season, Dombrowski made a trade for a bat like Johnny Peralta. And the Tigers had a bunch of guys that were all contributors for that window from 11 to 14, and they were really good. But you knew at the end of 14, and you can go back and watch some of my old videos on this channel, and I said it even in 2014, predicting the future. I'm like, this team is going to be really bad for a period of time because they have an aging core with a lot of guys and no one to replace them. So I do want this next GM to come in, and I don't mind if you trade some of this prospect capital. If some of these bigger prospects got to go, if Wilmer Flores has got to go, and, whoever it is, but they bring in some major league proven players, I have no problem with that, because that's going to be their quickest way to get better faster, because prospects are prospects are prospects. You don't know what they're going to be. This Spencer Torkelson autograph I have behind me could be like my Jacob Turner autograph I had 12 years ago, where I paid $50 for a Jacob Turner autograph back then. So I thought he was going to be Justin Verlander 2.0, and it's worth $3 now. We don't know. Spencer Torkelson could be horrible. I don't think he will be. I think he has a lot of talent, but he could be good. So I just hope this next person that comes in doesn't come in and completely guts every single thing and tears it down to the studs and tries to rebuild what's already been we'll say rebuilt very loosely, because they didn't win anything yet with this group of guys. So I hope they just don't come in and take a step back. I don't mind if this next person comes in and trades some of the prospect capital that they have. They trade some of the major league players that we currently have. The only players I kind of see is untouchable right now is probably Riley Green, is their really only definitive building block. And Spencer Torkelson, even though he didn't show what he could be yet, I still don't think that the next GM is going to come in and trade someone of that caliber with less than 300 at-bats. That would be really stupid to do. But I hope they don't tear it down completely. I hope they come in and they make some trades to get some proven talent on here to make the Tigers better next year. I hope they go in and get rid of some of this dead weight that they have on the 40-man roster. Another big question I have is, what does this mean for A.J. Hinch going forward? I do like A.J. Hinch a lot, and I think he's done a good job. I think that Cool Ball's job is going to be gone and out the window. For everyone that dogs Cool Ball for this year, for how bad the team's been, didn't seem to mind giving them credit last year when they had all these guys having big career years between Scope, Grossman, Eric Haas, and whatnot, when they had all these guys hitting 20 home runs. Last year was fine. But this year, you don't go through a season where you're one of the worst offensive teams of all time and your team has 63 home runs as a team going into the middle of August, and keep your job. It's like, when the Lions went 0-16, Jim Schwartz was going no matter what. Or was that Jim Schwartz? I don't remember. Maybe it was Rod. I think it was Rod Marinelli was their Lions coach then. Neither here nor there. You don't get to keep your job after being this bad. So I think Cool Ball is going to be gone. So it could be kind of like a feeling out kind of thing. I think Hinch could potentially leave if he doesn't like who the GM is. If they bring this next guy in and Hinch and this new GM don't, see eye to eye where they're at with the team or some of the changes they want to make, maybe AJ Hinch could be out on his own affair. Maybe he's not is not going to agree with the next guy, his philosophies and where they think they are team wise and talent wise and player wise. But maybe this next GM comes in and wants his own guys in there. I mean, that's a very common thing. Each regime, when Avila was brought in, Brad Ausmus was manager, and Avila didn't fire Brad Ausmus. He gave him a couple of years. But I think a lot of that had to do with Avila was Dave Dombrowski's right-hand man, and they both had kind of something to do with it. But like I said, with this new GM that's coming in, I don't think it's going to be an in-house guy. So there's going to be a lot of things up in the air about this upcoming offseason. It's going to be a complete look at everything that's going on in the organization from top to bottom with this new person that comes in. How do they feel about, everyone from the farm system to the day-to-day staff? How do they feel about them? And what are they doing to this person's perspective? What are they doing for the organization? And is what they're doing going to help them win next year? Is it going to help them win in 2 years? Is it going to help them win consistently and competitively for 5 years? This is all the stuff that's going to be decided and thought about with this next person, this next regime of people. So I don't know what's going to go on with AJ Hinch. I hope he stays, but there's a strong possibility with this next guy that they hire in that, AJ Hinch could be gone. And he's going to want to bring his own guys in. He's going to want to bring his own staff in. He's going to want to bring his own style of manager in. I think with AJ Hinch being a Houston Astros guy, especially under Lou now, that you're going to have a hard time finding someone, if this guy is like a big analytics GM or whatnot, that is not more in tune with the numbers than Hinch because of how the Astros built that organization and how they drafted and the numbers and the analytics style of it. So I think that's what he has going for them if they try to go with like a new school kind of guy and a new school kind of approach to building this, because Avila was they have definitely built up their analytics team and everything else, but Avila was definitely, more of he was a scout, and it was clearly shown because he could scout, but he couldn't trade and he couldn't develop. He could tell you this player was good, but don't make him good at the major league level. So I'm going to cut it off right here because I really don't have much more to say, and I don't want to make this video 45 minutes long. This next guy that they brought in to replace Avila, guys, don't get your panties in a bunch about this dude. This guy is literally a body. He's someone with a pulse that he's not going to be the next GM of the Tigers. It's literally someone there for a day-to-day operation standpoint until the season is over in September or, October. And he's just a stand-in. You would have to be extremely crazy to think that Chris Ilitch is going to let the right-hand man of Al Avila run this team after Avila did what he did for the last 7 years. This guy's a pulse, just a body with a pulse. That's it. Someone with a face that they can say is the acting general manager. So don't get your panties in a bunch about it. So the Tigers, they go on and they finally fire Al Avila. And not saying I'm surprised that it happened. I'm just surprised at the timing of it. So Al Avila, no longer the general manager of the Detroit Tigers. We will see here in the coming future who's going to be the next guy, and we'll see what he does for the team. Hopefully makes it better, man. So I got for you guys today. I'll be back on Sunday. Go Tigers.